Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom, Israel. First off, giving all honor and praises to the Most High and to His Son, Yahushua. So, Captain Benaniyah coming to you with another first day of the week breakdown. To, like we always say, to start brothers and sisters off in the spirit. The name of today's class is we're going to touch on marriage today. We'll touch on marriage in the truth. And just marriage in general. You know, because this is one of the things, we say when brothers and sisters come into the truth, you want to make sure that you know how to properly do these things according to the Bible. You know, marriage is an important thing in our nation. Like we said, it helps strengthen our nation. You know, it puts families back together again. Then in tune, that puts the tribes back together again. So marriage is very, very heavy to the scriptures, man. And it's an honorable thing, man. So we want to make sure, like we say, if brothers and sisters have any questions concerning these things, please bring them out for new brothers and new sisters and whatnot. You know, kind of touch all around it. First precept we're going to go to the main precept we always pull. You know, the book of Hebrews, chapter 13 and verse 4. Because marriage, man, it's a sacred, it's an honorable thing, man. You know, a lot of times we have some of the worst statistics among nations on the planet Earth. Specifically going into Black Americans, so-called, you know, people of the tribe of Judah, of the nation of Israel. And that's because we never have been properly taught marriage according to the Bible. Shalom, Sister Mary Houston, Brother Daniel Houston. How y'all doing, family? You know, prayers going up for your daughters. Shalom, Brother Daniel. How you doing out? Prayers steady going up for your daughter, sis. Like we said, it's a very honorable thing according to the scriptures. And we want to make sure that we apply these scriptures in every aspect. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 13 and verse 4. And it reads, marriage is honorable in all. So the Bible says that marriage is an honorable thing. Shalom, shalom, Brother Razatak. Said that marriage is honorable in all. And this is for brothers and sisters that are new in the truth. You know, like we say, it's nothing with wanting a wife and a sister wanting a husband, but you need to be seeking the Most High God first. And you need to be in order and built up to properly have a husband and to properly have a wife. So the Bible says that marriage is honorable. That's an honorable thing, man. Two people coming together to be one flesh. That's a very, very important thing, man. Meaning what, y'all on one accord, y'all in the same mind frame, you know. Sister knows her role, brother knows his role. And that's why a lot of times marriages don't work in our nation, man. It doesn't work because each one doesn't know their role according to the Bible. I'm going to read this again. I don't know if this is the book of Hebrews, chapter 13 and verse 4. Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. So even on that aspect, when y'all are married, you know, the sex that y'all have between one another, guess what? That is honorable and that keeps the bed undefiled. That stops whoremongering and whores running rapid throughout our nation. Like I say, then in tune, when you have two flesh, that drops what STDs rates among our nation. It's just altogether healthy and more spiritual. Especially when the Most High God, because when you're going outside of these guidelines, the judgment for whoremongering and being whores, shalom, Brother Ray, is STDs. That's the judgment. That's why AIDS is running rapid in our nation. That's why gonorrhea. A lot of brothers and sisters know some of these diseases that are running rapid. Hepatitis, herpes, may I say. So you know the diseases that our people are prone to. And this is a part of the curses, man. This is a part of the curse. Shalom, shalom, Brother Yaakov and family. So marriage is honorable and all, and even Christ talked about that, man. Like we said, we're talking all things and any of the questions, but really the main subject we're touching on today is marriage. Marriage in the truth. And it's a beautiful thing when y'all two become twain. Let's get that in from Christ's mouth. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 4. And it reads, and he answered and said unto them, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? So you have Adam and Eve. You didn't have Adam and Steve. You didn't have Adam and Joseph being together, whatnot. And Esau has perverted these things, man. Now anybody can marry who you want to. Shalom, Sister Vegan. How you doing, sis? Shalom, Brother Leroy Adams. How you doing, huh? Like we say, the Most High God never made Adam and Steve. He made Adam and Eve. Now Esau would take these things and pervert these things, saying now you can marry who you want to. Hell, you can marry a tree if you want to. You can marry dogs, cats. That's going into bestiality. You literally can marry anybody and anything that you see fit. But Christ was letting us know from the beginning, he made them male and female. That's a true marriage according to the Bible. We ain't talking about in the eyes of Esau. It says, chapter 19 and verse 4 again from the top. And he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? Going into what? Adam and Eve. It's in verse 5. And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain, meaning they two, shall become one flesh. So even Christ has given us the guidelines to marriage. So first, a brother needs a job. Brother needs a job. If you want a wife, you need a job, because the male's role is to do what? Protector and provider. That is what our job is in the nation of Israel. So a brother would need a job. First, you need to be built up in the scriptures, because you have to be able to what? Guide your wife and teach your wife in this truth. That's first and foremost. Then what? You will want to seek counseling. Then you will want to choose a sister that's, guess what? That's built up in this truth as well. That has experience in this truth. I know a lot of times we just taken by the beauty of a woman, and not understanding that, guess what? Her spirit needs to match that, man. A lot of times we just looking at beauty, and that's not the way to go, because, hey, you can have a beautiful woman, but damn, she could be a Kelly Bundy, dumb as hell. And you don't want that, especially being spiritually dumb. It says, and for this cause shall, and said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Meaning what? You leaving father and mother house, you get in your own place. So guess what? You can guide your family according to the scriptures. A lot of times when brothers having their families, staying in other people's places, you can't properly guide your family how you would need to. Because we know, especially for brothers and sisters whose parents are not in the truth, they're constantly at odds with these things. So the Bible is setting the tone, man. It have always set the tone when it comes to marriage. These things are very, very important, even like with Adam. We go back to the beginning of time. Adam, what did the Most High God do? Let's go get that. Let's go to the book of Genesis. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 2, and verse, let me see what I want. We'll start at verse 7. To show you and set the tone for these things. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So the Most High God created Adam, put the commandments in him, meaning what? He built Adam up. That's the same thing what brothers need to follow today, the same road. You need to be built up in this truth to be able to what? To guide your wife. Because we know a lot of times brothers want wives for what? For a maid and for some sex. And it's more than that. Of course, those things are important. It's not to say that you shouldn't have those things. Yes. But guess what? Y'all should be doing those things according to the Bible. You should want to be able to teach her when certain spirits jump on her, making sure that certain spirits is not jumping on you, and that you're not ruling like a lion in your household. So brothers need to be built up, man. You need to be built up, because it's your job to do what? To guide your wife, to guide your children, Lord's will y'all have them. So the Most High God gave him the commandments. It says, verse 8, and the Lord planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made the Lord to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight. I want to get to the point. I want to jump down. So the Most High God gave him a place to stay, basically. Now, I want to jump down to verse 15. Verse 15, and the Lord God took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. So the Most High God gave him the commandments, He gave him a place to stay. Then he gave him a what? A job. He gave him a job. So these things are pivotal for brothers and sisters, especially for the brothers, to guess what? Have this before they even think about getting married. It says to dress it and to keep it. It says, let me get to the point. Verse 19, and out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. So the Most High God gave Adam a job to do what? Dress the garden, maybe to look after it, to guess what? Teach the other nations that were amongst the people in the Garden of Eden the commandments. And also he gave him what? Another job to do what? Name every living creature on the planet. Adam had power on the planet. He wasn't just some man walking around butt naked like how Christianity teaches them. Oh, they didn't have no clothes on. No, they did have clothes. Adam was a god on the planet, man. And a lot of people tend to forget those things, man. So this was his role. Jump down to verse 21. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. And that's what the word woman means. It means taken out of man. Meaning what? The man is the head, and the sister's job is to follow their husbands, to submit unto their husband. And if sisters have a problem submitting 100%, sisters are not ready to get married. Because guess what? Even on your days when you don't feel like doing, guess what? It is your job to guide the house, guide the children, and to guess what? Look after your husband. These things are very, very important, because when sisters know their roles, it's less conflict up in the relationship. Shalom, brother Dexter. Shalom, Yara, 12 Stones. Shalom, you brothers that's tuning in. It's less conflict up in the house, man. That's why, like we say, we have a high turnover rate in marriages. It's a high divorce rate among our nation of people, because brothers and sisters don't know their roles, man. So they're stepping over one another. We know right now Esau has put the woman over the man, even in this society. You had Granny. She was known as being what? Basically the head of the house, the patriarch, basically the matriarch too. And guess what? The Bible is putting everybody back in their right places, man. Verse 24, therefore shall man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. This is where Christ was pulling this from, man. Out of the book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 25. It precepts with Matthew chapter 19 verse 5. Shalom, 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 brother Dunn. It says, I want to get to the point. So that was Adam's role. He was built up with the commandments. Guess what? He got a job. He got a place to stay. Then the Most High God gave him a wife. That is the order for brothers that's wanting a wife in this truth, man. Being built up in the scriptures, job second, place to stay third, and then you get your wife, man. Then it's your job to do what? Constantly guide and constantly teach your wife. These things are very, very important, man. It's your job to provide for them. Let's get that in Timothy's real quick. It's your job to provide for your wife. Not just physically, but also what? Spiritually as well. This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 8. But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he had denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. So the Most High God is saying if brothers is out there, guess what? Basically trying to pimp their wives out and not taking care of them and providing for their family, then guess what? You're less than an infidel. An infidel is an unbeliever, you know. And like we say, you don't want to fall into that particular category, man. You want to make sure you take the proper steps so that brothers and sisters can have a strong, healthy, spiritual marriage. That's what marriage is all about in here. That's your role. Sister's roles is what? Let's go back. Let's go back to the book of Genesis, man. And sisters should know this, especially sisters in battle axes. You know, this is what brothers need to be teaching their wives, man. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 16. And unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Meaning what? Your desire should be to your husband. And a lot of times sisters don't have that mentality in this time frame. They just don't, man. That slate has been wiped clean for many years now. Once upon a time, we had some aspect of that. Even with certain statistics, they said that we was married more in slavery than we are now, man. Which is very, very sad, man. Shalom, shalom, Sister Talia. It's very, very sad. Sisters got to understand what their role is as a wife. Guess what? You have to be able to put your husband before your children. And we know a lot of times brothers and sisters cannot do that. Or sisters cannot do that. This is something that's very important. If you cannot do that, then you're not ready to be a wife, man. You have to understand this scripture right here. I'm going to read this again. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children. Meaning what? It gives y'all pain to bring forth children because of the sins that our foremother Eve committed. That's why the Most High God put particular curses upon women. To have what? Menstrual cycles and to have pain at childbirth. All praise. Titus chapter 2 verse 3. These are the curses that sisters have now because of their foremother Eve went off. Like we're saying, this curse is even upon sisters today because they're still not following this, man. You got some sisters that know about the truth that still struggle with this thing. If your husband is asking you to do some damage, just do it. That is what your job is in the truth, to obey your husband. And if sisters don't have a submissive mindset, sisters not ready to get married, man. They just not, man. We can't play the games. The truth is more than just about sex. That's a part of it. But guess what? That's not the only thing, man. You should want a husband to, guess what, build you up spiritually, to guide you. What you saying, Stop saying F, the Bible. Repeat that again, Dexter. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4, Sister Vicky. Put it back on there. Make it clearer, Dexter. I'm not understanding what you're saying. Are you talking about them or me? But that's what sisters should be following, man. Let's get another precept on that. Because it's saying the same thing even in the New Testament. Let's go to the book of Ephesians chapter 5. And these are precepts that we use when we counsel brothers and sisters in this walk. When we have marriage counseling. You know, that's something that brothers and sisters should be used to, especially if you're trying to take a wife or if you're trying to take a husband. Should sit down, counsel first. It says the sisters, sometimes we deal with sisters and they say F the Bob. Yeah, that's right. You know, it does happen. And something that's a spirit that sisters must check. And the Most High God is going to check it for them, man. Let's go to the book of Ephesians, chapter 5 and verse, what do I want? Verse 24. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 5 and verse 24. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. So if sisters is not having this particular type of spirit, then guess what? Sisters is not ready to get married. You know, your job is to what? Guide the house, guide the children. You know, we know sometimes in this captivity, I'm going to read your comment in a minute, brother Donovan. Sometimes in this captivity, we know it takes 2 paychecks to stay afloat. Sister may have a job, but just because sister have a job doesn't negate your duties at home, sisters. It doesn't negate those things, man. The man is set up to lead. Hey, you may not like how your husband is leading. You may not like how your husband is teaching you. But damn it, that's his job. You have to submit unto him in every way. Only time, guess what? You shouldn't submit is when you know that he's breaking the commandments. That is the only time. But outside of that, that is your role, man. And you have Abigail as an account for that. She had a wicked husband that was coming against David. Guess what? She still stayed in the spirit, man, and still did her role. That's what you have to do, sisters, in this walk, man. We can't play the games. I'm going to read this again. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 5 and verse 24. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Everything means everything. Meaning what, sisters? Is there 50-50 in the Israelite marriage? No, there is not, man. It's 100 the male, 0 the sisters. Feminism has taught our sisters those things, man. That sisters are equal to women. To husbands. No, that's not according to the Bible. And once you doing 50-50, then guess what? It's saying you got 2 rulers in the house. So when a decision goes out, guess what? The children looking confused. What? Who gets the final say so? The woman, I get the final say so. No, the man gets that final say so. So sisters got to, guess what? Pray for a spirit of submissiveness if they want to be married according to the truth. The brother Donovan was saying, you can go into arguments between husband and wife. Best scriptures for that I know, Ephesians. But some more to help. What you mean? Oh yeah, we're going to touch on a lot of things. You already know how we do. We're going to touch on things, and if brothers have questions, just put them in the comment board. We're going to touch on many things. But just to name a few, sisters understanding their roles first, and brothers understanding their roles. Now, the next subject we want to kind of touch on, we're touching on all things marriage, on how you start that process, basically. I know scriptures that we always go to is going to the book of Tobit, chapter 7. So how do you choose a wife in this truth? How do you choose a wife in this truth? Matter of fact, I want to go to Salakia. Hold Tobit 7. We're going to go to the book of Sirach, chapter 6. Let me say all brothers and sisters should know these things. Let me say if you got any questions concerning marriage or any other subject, but we really just kind of want to touch on marriage. But we could touch on any other questions after we touch on this. This is the first thing that brothers and sisters need to do when seeking a wife in the truth. And the scriptures tell us that, guess what? A man should find a wife, not a wife finding a husband. So that's first and foremost. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 6 and verse 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. So this is one of the most important things when finding a wife in this truth. Y'all must prove each other, man. You must prove each other. I don't know how many times we done said this, and I'm pretty sure many other camps have done this too. We done stressed this over and over and over again, and brothers and sisters still don't do these things and wondering why. Guess what? They don't have a healthy spiritual marriage. It's because y'all not following this one commandment right here, man. You must prove a brother and a sister before y'all get married. You must. It's no other way around it. You don't know. You want to make sure that you have a husband that's diligent in his truth, that's going to guide you. Husbands, you want to make sure that you're going to find a wife that's going to be submissive unto you. How do you know these things? It takes time. 6 months. A year. Me personally, I tell brothers and sisters to prove one another at least for a year or 2 years, man. At the least. But guess what? Proving never stops, man. You constantly proving one another. Constantly, man. So guess what? You want to find out things about her. And guess what? In 3 to 4 months or even 6 months, everything is always going to be peaches and cream. She can do no wrong. That's not what you're looking for. You want to look for when, guess what? She has an attitude problem. And then you ask her to do something and she's still submissive unto that. That's properly proven her. And she mad and out of the spirit. Hey, babe, can you get this for me? Hey, babe, can you take care of this for me? I ain't doing that. Nigga, who you think I am? That's the spirit that you want to watch for. And it's vice versa with the brothers, sisters. You seeing a brother, he out of the spirit and he don't want to guide you. When you asking about certain precepts, I don't know. Look it up and read it for yourself. Those are things that you want to examine in brothers and sisters' spirits, man. Those things take time, man. There's no other way around it, man. Yeah, all praise. You don't want to put them on the comment board, or you want to talk later, Brother Ray? Those are the things that you're looking out for. So you must prove one another in this truth, brothers and sisters. You must prove one another. Let's go to another precept. Go to the book of 1 John chapter 4, verse 1. These are precepts, man. Y'all make sure y'all write these down. The order of marriage, marriage in the truth, man. It's a great thing to want to be married, man. A beautiful thing, man. We want those things, man. So we can have sisters mass produce us on a global scale, man. Like we say, children need a male figure in the house. That's why you see so many effeminate men growing up these days. And so many masculine women out here. Sisters harder than you. Sisters got to put back on feminism, man. To being womanly, man. The brothers don't want no hard ass sister, man. But sisters got to shake that thing, man. Sisters gonna fight harder than you, man. Brothers don't want to deal with that, man. We don't want to deal with that. Like we said, all the back talking, the mouth, the attitude, the hardness, the masculinity. Brothers do not want to deal with that, man. Brothers want to deal with a womanly woman, man. That's why it's very important that sisters follow these things, man. This is the book of 1 John chapter 4 and verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit, whether they are of God. So when you proving, brothers and sisters, this is the same thing. You're trying them to see whether or not they are of God. You want to see if a sister has that little whore mentality. You want to see if that sister is always seeking attention from other men. And sisters, you want to see if that brother has that whoremongering mentality. Like seeing if he always want attention from other women, to always be in the spotlight and so forth. You want to see if a sister is going to be submissive and hold her peace, or she just always constantly running off at the mouth. You want to see and watch how sisters hang with sisters. You want to watch those things, man. Seeing the different type of mannerisms that they have when they get around, you know, their sisters and so forth. These are things to watch out for. And sisters vice versa. I'm going to read this again from the top. This is the book of 1 John chapter 4 and verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit. So just because a sister is beautiful, sister, just because a man is handsome, hey, you don't believe that. Because a lot of times that's what our people do. Our people are taken by beauty all the time, man. And then we know the beautiful ones, the handsome ones are the worst ones, man. Not all the times. But you want to make sure you're watching brother's spirit and that you're watching their personalities, man. Brothers, you want to make sure that you're watching sister's spirit and their personality and their mannerisms, man, to see if she can cook, clean, guide the house. These things are very important, man. It says, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. So it's many, like I said, it's talking about false prophets, but guess what? You can apply this to false sisters, false wives, false brethren, false husbands out here. You can apply this in that same aspect. You, like I said, going precept upon precept to see if she's going to line up with this. Is she a Sirach chapter 26 woman, or a Proverbs 31 woman? Or is he a brother that's willing to guide his family? So these are the main two things, or the main thing that brothers and sisters should do when coming to a marriage, is prove one another. Now let's go to the book of Tobit. Like I said, brothers and sisters have any other questions? Brother Dunn, if you have to clarify what you're saying, clarify what you're saying. Let's go to the book of Tobit to show you the order. This is the book of Tobit, chapter 7 and verse 13. And it reads, then he called his daughter Sarah, and she came to her father, and he took her by the hand and gave her to be wife to Tobias. So in our times, guess what? A family would already have a marriage set up, or an arranged marriage. Meaning what? You would already be espoused to a sister that you probably wouldn't know about. That was the same thing with what? With Joseph and Mary. It was the same thing. She was already espoused to Joseph. That's why it says that she knew not a man. It doesn't mean that she had sex with him yet. She just didn't know who he was. That's all that they're saying. I'm going to read this again. She came to her father, and he took her by the hand and gave her to be wife to Tobias. Because back then they would choose a family, a respectable or spiritual house. Hey, she looked like a young woman that is carrying herself according to the Bible. I want my son to marry your daughter. Two great household names in the truth. So you knowing sister has a good report, then she's knowing her husband has a good report. Then guess what? That family couldn't do nothing but have a good report. That's how we make families strong in our time. And that's what we're getting back to slowly but surely, man. Slowly but surely. It says, behold, take her after the law of Moses and lead her away to thy father. And he blessed them. When it says take them after the law of Moses, what is that going into? Let's go get it. Let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 21. Meaning what? Marriage. The book of Exodus, chapter 22 and verse 16. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. So even coming into the truth, outside of the truth, really, we know brothers and sisters may have been with one another before they actually got into the truth. So we know, and even sometimes, even in the truth, you may not properly go through the right stages on how you need to, because according to the Bible, you choose a sister, you prove that sister, then y'all decide y'all want to get married. Get the wedding papers, have the wedding ceremony, then in the wedding ceremony, consummate the marriage, meaning y'all have sex and complete the marriage. But sometimes, and many of times, these things go out of order. Meaning what? Y'all have gotten with each other and then y'all end up having sex. Even if that happens, that brother is still supposed to, guess what? Endow that sister to marry her. Eventually, y'all get to those steps to where y'all then go through the proper steps. This is what this is saying. That's all that it's saying. Verse 16 again. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, the word betrothed means promised to. So this brother find a sister that isn't promised to anybody, and he lie with her, meaning what? They eventually have sex. It says he shall surely endow her to be his wife, meaning what? You have to go through the stages. Guess what? Go and get the papers. Go into the wedding ceremony. Then consummate the marriage. You want to still go through these things the right way. This is what this is going into. And many times our people, they have sex, but they still never finish the process. You must finish these things, brothers and sisters. This thing is heavy. And even getting papers is very important for its own reasons. And we'll touch on that. Let's get another one. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22 and verse 28. Is that what I want? I want saying the same thing. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22 and verse 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, meaning they're found lying together, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's fathers 50 shekels of silver. So you have an instance to where they did it in order. Then you have an instance to where they did it out of order. And you see the penalties for these things. In this aspect, they did it out of order. So guess what? The brother had to pay money or is basically a dowry to that sister's father for her. I'm going to read it again. Then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he had humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. So this is the thing, when you go outside of the order, brothers have to pay a penalty for those things, man. Or a dowry. You literally have to give 50 shekels of silver, man, to that your wife's father. To guess what? Pay for that, basically pay for being out of order. Let's go back to the book of Tobit, chapter 7 and verse 13 from the top. Then he called his daughter Sarah, and she came to her father, and he took her by the hand and gave her to be wife to Tobias, saying, Behold, take her after the law of Moses, saying, and Salakia, and lead her away to thy father. And he blessed him. So you had him give his wife over to the daughter. I mean, his husband over, his son over to his wife, basically. Verse 14 is the point, one of the points, and called Edna. So like it, brothers and sisters, and called Edna his wife, and took paper and did write an instrument of covenants and sealed it. And instruments of covenants today will be known as a what? As a marriage certificate. Like we said, and these things has its benefits. We know certain camps don't teach these things. They only teach that sex is marriage. If camps teach that, Battle Axes, we do not teach that, because we see this in the scriptures. And it's backed up by other scriptures as well that we're going to go to. Like it says, literally telling you and did write an instrument of covenants, meaning what? A marriage certificate. That's an agreement that y'all have between you. Israel did things in order, man. We did things in order. Matter of fact, let's get the precept tool. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 42 and verse 7. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 42 and verse 7. Deliver all things in number and weight, and put all in writing, that thou givest out or receivest in. So when you're getting married, last time I checked, you're receiving a wife. So guess what? It's okay to get a marriage certificate. Guess what? You should do those things, because we know a lot of times what you would call, Lord forbid, if brothers and sisters get into any health situations and they put you on life support. Brothers and sisters don't have that marriage certificates. Your parents basically decide if they could pull the cord or not. But when you're married to a sister that's in the truth, or to a brother that's in the truth, guess what? They have that say so. So that's why we always push marriage certificates, even when you're giving your inheritance out. Like we say, the things that you leave behind, we know that those things should go to your wife or to your husband when you have those papers. So it's no disputing over those things. So that's what we teach, getting marriage certificates amongst in Battle Axes. I'm going to read verse 14 again. This is the book of Tobit, chapter 7 and verse 14. And called Edna his wife, and took paper and did write an instrument of covenants and sealed it. So they were presented together. Then they got what? A marriage certificate. It says, verse 15, and they began to eat. Now they're going into what? Into the wedding ceremony. Verse 16, he called his wife Edna and said unto her, Thus to prepare another chamber and bring her in thither. So now they're preparing what? The consummation chambers. It says, verse 17, which when she had done as he had bidden her, she brought her thither, and she wept and received the tears of her daughter, and said unto her, Be of good comfort, my daughter. The Lord of heaven and earth give thee joy for this thy sorrow. Be of good comfort, my daughter. Chapter 8, verse 1. And when they had supped, she brought Tobias in unto her. Meaning what? When they had their full, had a good time at the wedding feast, now they're going into what? Into the bed chambers to do what? Consummate the marriage, or complete the marriage. These are the steps to getting married in Israel. Verse 2, and as she went in, he remembered the words of Raphael, meaning what? One of the archangels, and took the ashes of the perfumes and put the heart and the liver of the fish thereupon, and made a smoke therewith. Meaning what? The archangel Raphael was telling them on how to do a proper sacrifice to, guess what? Get these demons Asmodeus off of her. so that that demon would kill Tobias when he went in unto her. But the point that we want is the steps to marriage. He was presented to her. They got a marriage certificate. They had a wedding ceremony. Then they went into the into the bedchambers and consummated the marriage. That is the process. Those are the steps to a proper marriage in Israel, brothers and sisters. And you want to make sure that you follow through with those things. And if you don't, that's what Exodus chapter 22 and verse 16 is going into. Because we know sometimes brothers and sisters have had sex outside of these things, outside of the proper order, but you still want to complete these things and go through with these things. Meaning what? Eventually go get a marriage certificate, or can have a wedding ceremony and take it that route. You want to complete these things, brothers and sisters. But these things are very, very important in our nation. Because we see these things too many times where, like we say, these things go uncompleted, basically. Let's see. Y'all have to forgive me. I'm not sure. I have to look it up. That's right. Sex seals the marriage. That's right. I said, brothers and sisters have any questions, put them on. Oh, he was asking, you can go into arguments with some more to him. Let's see. So brothers and sisters must know their roles according to the scriptures. Let's go back to the book of Ephesians chapter 5. Because like we say, this is a very important chapter and verses for brothers and sisters to guide themselves in a marriage according to the scriptures. This is the book of Ephesians chapter 5 and I'll start at verse 21. Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. Because we know a lot of times sisters, they'll submit. When Christ come up on the scene, we know those things. Hey, sisters gonna submit. You should have that same respect for your husband. The way you're submitting unto Christ, oh, that's Christ. Well, guess what? You should see your husband as Christ, man. That's the point. And if you don't see him as Christ, then guess what? It's a breakdown somewhere in y'all's marriage. Whether or not y'all properly proved one another or not. These are very important things to guess what? Help a marriage grow in this truth. Verse 21 again. Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife. Sisters must meditate on those things, man. Meaning the head, meaning the husband runs things, man. Guess what? He has the last say so. He has the last say so. It's no going back and forth. And sisters must, guess what? Put those things on, man. Sisters must understand that. You may not like how he's doing it. And even that comes with not properly proving a brother. Because if you don't properly prove him, you should already know that, guess what? I know my husband is going to make that decision. I know my husband wants me to do this, that, and this at this particular time. I know when he wants to mess around. You should know your husband. These are things that, guess what? Sisters should be, guess what? Rehearsing to get to better knowing your husband. To do what? To make your job easier. To where y'all won't fight or anything. Because one of the main two things husband and wives fight about is what, brothers and sisters? Money and sex. Sister may want to go and do this and the husband is telling you no, and sister catch attitude. And you have to, guess what? Go with that. There shouldn't be no attitude if he's telling you you can't have that particular thing at one particular moment. I don't give a damn if it is your money. And that's the point. He's telling you no, don't do it. It's simple as that. The Most High God is probably putting that on their spirit for a reason. Then months later or weeks later, y'all have a bill that pops up that you didn't know about. And guess what? Now y'all prepared for those things. You know, sometimes sisters can get into a little bit more materialistic things than men. I know men have their things that they're materialistic about, you know. But remember, the man is the head of the household. Yeah, and that's right. Sometimes it's one that's strong in the truth. You know, you have those different aspects. You may have a sister that's stronger in the truth than her husband, but guess what? That sister still should know her role according to the Bible. She shouldn't try to use her experience in the truth to try to assert and use trickery with the scriptures and so forth. No, sister still has a role that she must follow, even with the husband. Just because a husband is more experienced in the truth, you shouldn't abuse your experience in the truth. You should use that to teach your wife. And that's what the scriptures is all about. We know that brothers do those things. We know sometimes sisters may do those things too. Let's get there real quick. Oh, what you got in the book of Ephesians? Let's go to the book of 1 Peter, chapter 5. Chapter 3 and start at verse 6. This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 3 and verse 6. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. Now that's a mighty thing for a sister to call her husband Lord. Now you just don't want to do it sometimes, but you want to be fervent in the spirit to really be doing these things, man. That's a level that all sisters should be trying to get to, where you're calling your husband Lord. And you're not just trying to do it when you're amongst brothers and sisters trying to be seen or whatnot, or trying to rub it in. No, you want to be sincere about doing those things, man. Verse 6 again from the top. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well and are not afraid with any amazement. Verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. And that's one of the main things brothers must meditate on. When having a wife, you have to deal with your wife according to knowledge. Meaning what? Most High God has put the man in charge, so he's given us a little bit more understanding spiritually. So we're able to see certain things that a sister may not. You may tell a wife, don't do that, and she may not know. Sister, you may not know at that time. Guess what? Your job is still to do what? Follow your husband. The Most High God may put it on your spirit to understand it maybe days later. But in that aspect, still follow your role. But we got to understand that we must have patience when dealing with our wives. You know, just think about it. Your wife is new in the truth. She's not going to, guess what, get this overnight. 30, 40, 50 years in the world minus 1, 2, 3, or 4 years in the truth. No, it doesn't compute. So this is just not going to catch on, and it's not going to be like a light switch overnight. So brothers have to have patience when dealing with their wives. And guess what? Teach them according to the scriptures. Let her know what you like and what you don't like, what you expect out of her and what you don't expect out of her. Baby, I want you to be such and such way when we're at the feast days. Don't drink too much, babe. You know, mingle with the sisters, but not too much. Do this, you know, say shalom. But for the most part, this is how I want you. Baby, I like my dinner cooked this way. Baby, can you please have this done for me at this particular time? If you don't tell her and teach her, how does she know? We can't read minds. Ultimately, that is the goal, to be fervent in the spirit and on one accord at that level. But right now, we have to what? You have to literally teach your wife. Now, that's something I must do as being a husband. I know a lot of times we could be busy doing classes, on the phone, conferencing, but you still have to make time for your wives. You know, it's no other way around it. To teach her and to, guess what, just spend time with her in general. You must do these things. Verse 7, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, meaning according to the commandments, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. So the sisters are the weaker vessels, but sisters, y'all shouldn't abuse that. Every time you want to be wicked or something, I'm the weaker vessel. A wicked woman is given to a portion of a wicked man. No, don't be trying to be slick like that, man. Like, come on, don't use this as an excuse. You want to use this as an opportunity to take advantage of, but not abuse. A lot of times sisters want to abuse this scripture. I'm the weaker vessel. I'm the weaker vessel. Come on, man. Stop it with all that, man. Especially when you done been through this thing maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, you're not the weaker vessel after the 10th damn trial. You just being wicked as hell, man. Sometimes we have to make it plain. I know a lot of times sisters don't like the way brothers may speak, but remember, we understand it's not always meant as it comes out. And that's sometimes, brothers, what brothers have to work on. But like we said, as long as it's in righteousness, sisters got to fall in line. That's about what? Knowing your husband, knowing that, guess what? He can get a little riled up. That's part of proving a friend. Hey, I know he can be particularly riled up when I'm not doing something that I should be doing. These are things that, guess what, sisters got to peep out too, because guess what? Y'all have y'all power too. It says, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and being heirs together of heirs together of life. I gotta get my other scriptures, brother. It was like the Dead Sea Scrolls over here. I can barely read that mug anymore. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. Y'all, excuse me, brothers and sisters. The book of 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. So you want to make sure that you're dealing with your wife according to knowledge. Meaning what? Having patience with her, apt to teach her, to build her up spiritually in this walk. Because sisters need to be built up spiritually, man. Sisters really do. You need to tell her the do's and the don'ts and what you expect out of her. And these are some of the things that brothers can go over with their wives. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 26. This is something that we tell sisters, Battle Axe sisters, all the time. What you saying, Dexter? It says sometimes it's the opposite. The female stronger, have knowledgeable than the husband, and remain humble and obedient. Yes, it can go many different ways. It can go many different ways. Healing for the heart. So it can go many different ways, but even within that, sister that is more knowledgeable than her husband, she still should never go outside of her role to try to assert authority over her husband. That should mean that a sister should especially be in the spirit and know her role. That's what that means, until her husband, to the Most High God, builds up her husband. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 26, in verse 1. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 26, and verse 1. This is something that husbands should periodically go over with their wives. But I'm going to tell you too, wives have to have an interest to want to learn from their husbands. It's a two-way. That goes both ways. You should want to be excited about your husband teaching you. And guess what? Husbands should want to have their husbands teaching you. It goes both ways. I know a lot of times you think it's just one way, because a brother is not going to want to teach a wife if she's not interested. I mean, you'll literally be quoting the scriptures, but you really want to get into this thing. And you, brothers and sisters, really want to be on one accord when it comes to this. And sisters should want to learn on what their husband expects out of them and giving them more understanding of the scriptures. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 26 and verse 1. Blessed is the man that hath a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be double. So that's a blessing for a man to have a virtuous wife, meaning a wife that knows her duties, that knows her role, that understand the law, statutes, and commandments, and what the Most High God expects out of her as being the wife. That's a glorious thing when a sister falls into that role, man. That's a beautiful thing, man. That makes a marriage strong. Even when y'all out in public, that's how y'all let your light shine. Far too many times you see out in public, boy, you see sisters going in on the brother, man. Like we said, like Della Reese off a damn Harlem Nights, man. A brother saying something to her, boy, she ready to put them things on him, man. Like Della Reese, big Della Reese, man. And talking about, and sometimes we'll win the fight, man, with the spirit that these sisters got on them today. Like we said, we don't want to see that. We want to see sisters, especially when we're out and about, sisters knowing their role. We want to see brothers knowing their role. You're not talking bad to your wife. Wives not talking bad to your husbands. But when y'all walk through the door, wherever y'all going, people can see that light shining on y'all like, damn, there's something different about them, man. They not like the regular niggas and niggettes I know. No, they must be some Israelites, man. They must be some Israelites. Because guess what? Sister ain't out of order. She's not dressed out of order. Brother is not out of order. He's teaching his wife. He's guiding her. Guess what? They look like a couple that looks like something that I want to have. And that's the example that we should be putting forth. Verse 2, a virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. That's a heavy, heavy thing, man, when brothers can have peace when we come home. Even when brothers come home from work. You know, you got the sisters that love to talk, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you understand your man. Your man, when he comes home, guess what? He loves to relax. That's you knowing, hey, I'm going to give my husband an hour or two to himself. Just let him rest, kick back, you know, have things done for him. So there's none, have the children's not being out of order, not messing with them in anything, giving him a little time so he can just regress and then come and deal with y'all. Understanding those things. Some husbands may not like that. Some husbands may. That's why I say, hey, whatever your husband like or whatever your husband's desire, that's what sisters should be doing. So however it goes, me, myself, I'm either or. When I come in from work, hey, I chill with my wife when she gets home and with my son. I'm either or, you know, so she understands those things. Verse 3, a good wife is a good portion, which shall be given in the portion of them that fear the Lord. So if you want a good wife, guess what? You have to be a good husband. Meaning what? Keep the commandments. And the Most High God will give those things unto you. But if you're being wicked, being a whoremonger, being a whore, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get a whore for a husband. You're going to get a whore for a wife. You want to make sure that, guess what, you in the spirit with these things, man. Like you saying, that's a part of being built up. If you built up, you're being able to what? To examine her spirit anyway. I'm going to jump down to verse 13. The grace of a wife delighted her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones. That's something that sisters must learn, discretion. When and when not to do something, and when not to say something. Baby, that wasn't the right time to say. Hold your peace. What you mean? I'm literally telling you that, and then you barking down me. Yes, babe. You may not understand that road, then guess what? When y'all get home, he can further explain it. Sisters have to understand that. Discretion is knowing when to do something, when not to do something, man. And that's something that, guess what, husbands have to teach them, man. Out and about, when you are around brothers, you don't want to be in the brother circle, dealing with the brothers too much. No, it's shalom and move around. Sisters, guess what? That's where y'all place is, amongst each other. You know, talking. If you want to watch that around that, even when you seeing sisters gossiping too much or tale bearing or saying some things they ought not, teaching your wife, guess what? Don't be around them too long. You know, you show sisterly love, but hey, when you start to hear those things, guess what? You come back over here. Those are things that you must teach your husband. That's discretion. And that fattens your husband's bones, meaning what? It's very healthy unto him. You don't want to be that husband where you name always coming up in a report and you, oh, damn. Here we go with this again. You don't want to be that way, man. So that's something that we must teach our wives. Verse 13, the grace of a wife delighted her husband. That's a delight. And her discretion would fatten his bones. Verse 14, a silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord. So this is something that brothers have to examine as well. Why would you pick a wife that talks a lot and you know that you're a quiet brother? Brother, didn't you see that when you was proving that, sister? But these are scriptures that you must teach them as well. These are things to look out for. Sisters got to apply this. Sisters, don't be a chatterbox all the time. Don't be a chatterbox, especially if it's not about nothing that's profitable for you getting to the kingdom or that's going to be helpful to another sister or anything. I'm going to read verse 14 again. A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. I'm talking about, the Bible says nothing so much worth as a sister that is going to listen and obey her husband. It's nothing much more than that, man. And this is what sisters must pray for and fast for if they don't have this particular type spirit where they just got to say something. Like how we was going over yesterday. You letting principalities get in your head. Say something, sister. Guess what? He can't talk to you like that. Guess what? It's 50-50. I don't give a damn what he's saying, what that Bible say. It's 50-50 up in her, sis. And Satan will jump on them and make them say something. Sisters, y'all got to rebuke that thing, man. Because that's something that Judah is known for. With them loud mouth nigga, woman. Guess what? Sisters got to change that thing, man. Sisters thinking just because they're talking loud that makes them sing. No, this right here makes you sing. A loving and solid woman. Brothers sitting back like, damn, who's that sister right there? Then brothers get a report, oh, that's a good sister. You know, sister is fervent in the truth. Sister got a good report. You know, hey, that is a sister you might want to try to prove, man. Asking questions about these things. Not that, brother, you rarely do you hear brothers say, who is that loud mouth, loud sister over there? I like her. Nah, brothers ain't doing it. Not in the truth. Brothers do that stuff out in the world because that's what ratchet is and Negroism is. But guess what? In the truth, you don't hear those particular times. I want that loud mouth black woman right there. Or that loud mouth Issachar woman. No, you don't hear that, man. Guess what? You're looking for the silent and loving woman, man. That's what these things are all about. Verse 15. A shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace. Meaning what? You're not looking for the sister that's trying to have all the attention, trying to be seen of men and women. No, you're not looking for those things. And faithful, meaning what? You'll know this sister to guess what? Be in order when you're not around. When you're around, when she's around other brothers. You know she's going to be in order. These are things to look for. These are qualities to look for in a wife. And sister, these are qualities to have as a wife. A shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace. And a cognizant mind cannot be valued, man. That thing cannot be valued, man. When you got a mind steady, that's diligent in the truth and diligent to applying the commandments. These are things very important. Verse 16, as the sun when it ariseth in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house. So these are the qualities that sisters should have. Guess what? Having your house clean, having children's in order, knowing what your role is, knowing that your man may love good cooked meals. What's that old saying? Way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Hey, to a degree that is true. What brother don't like a sister that don't know how to cook, where you're not eating out every day? No. These are things that sisters should, guess what, want to know how to do. Cooking, sewing, being able to sew garments for her husband, sew fringes on his shirts. These things are very, very important because these things are helpful for brothers in their walk. You want to make sure that you're being the best helpmeet that you can, because that's what a sister is in this walk. Let's get there. They say eventually y'all want to be on the same mindset. Let's go back to the book of Genesis chapter 20. You know I got to get my other swizzle. Genesis chapter 2 verse 20. This is the book of Genesis chapter 2 and verse 20. And Adam gave names to all cattle and to the fowl of the earth and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him. So Adam didn't have a helpmeet at this time. But the Most High God was, guess what, was going to bless him. That's what sisters are made for. Y'all are the helpmeet for the man. That's what your desire shall be. Guess what? That's being in submission unto your husband. And it's like us keep reiterating, this is something that sisters must pray for if y'all don't have that particular type of spirit. Let me see what else I want. Moving creatures. Verse 18, and the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. So guess what? We know we have single brothers in his walk. We have single sisters in his walk. Of course, it's not good to be alone. But brothers and sisters want to make sure that you're seeking the Lord first before trying to seek a husband and a wife. You know, sometimes sisters solely in the truth just to get a husband. Then when you get that Negro, it ain't work out on how you think it would be. That's the point. You have brothers that's in the truth for just a wife and it didn't work out when you got her. That's because guess what? You wasn't seeking your first love. Your first love should be for you to what? Come in and serving the Most High God and keeping these commandments. Then all these things shall be added unto you. Don't think that the Most High God know. He the one wrote the scriptures. He gave us the scriptures. He know it's not good for us to be alone. If brothers and sisters can help it. Like a lot of time, if you think having that mindset of putting marriage and your husband and your wife before the Lord, that's the wrong mindset. Because guess what? A brother can covet a wife, then you get a wife, and you can be far off worse than you were. A lot of times you think just because you get a wife is going to make everything peaches and cream. No, you can have a demon up in there, and then guess what? You're not properly built up to guide her. You just looking and thinking about what sex and her being a maid. No, it's much more than those things, man. When you get a wife, you are the leader of that household, man. You're responsible for that household, for the protection and for the providing and for the spiritual teaching of that sister. Verse 18, and the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an help meet for him. And that's what sisters should understand. Y'all are help meets unto us. When you're going outside of that role, that's going into the wrong role. Being what? Self-willed. I'm going to do my own thing. No, sisters shouldn't have that mindset. Checking in. Sisters not, guess what, picking up the phone calls with their husband. That's out of order, man. Your desire is not being unto your husband when you're dealing in that particular type of spirit. And sisters have to shape those things, man. Because ultimately, us two or us twain, like Christ said, and even in the book of Genesis, shall become one flesh. That's being what? On one accord. And that's ultimately the mindset you should want to have. You should want to have the same mindset as your husband. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 7 and verse 26. Hast thou a wife after thy mind? And this is something that, guess what, when brothers are proving sisters, this is a quality that you want to look for in a sister. Seeing if, guess what, her mind is after your mind. Baby, you have everything you need for camp. Baby, you have everything you need for class. Understanding, guess what, if she, especially with sisters that have leaders in this truth, understanding that, guess what, we be on calls a lot. We have to take counsel a lot. Understanding that, guess what, the Lord's work come first. These are things you must instill. These are qualities that you look for in a wife. And these are qualities that sisters must pray for. It says, hast thou a wife after thy mind? And that's something to really meditate on, man. Is you and your wife mind on one accord with serving the Lord? And if it's not, guess what? You have to apply the proper scriptures to get into that role. It says, forsake her not. Meaning, if you have a wife that's on one accord with you, don't forsake that sister, man. Do not forsake her. It says, but give not thyself over to a light woman. Meaning what? A Kelly Bundy. A sister that's done. That has no mind at all. No, you don't want those, man. You want a sister that has a good head on her shoulders. That's, guess what? That's going to bring and help you in this walk. Whether a sister is good with her hands, you just don't want a sister sitting around being lazy, not doing nothing. No, we always constantly looking for what? The Proverbs 31 woman and the Sirach chapter 26 woman. You know, going out to buy groceries, can sew garments, you know, good with work amongst the congregation, got a good report. These are things that brothers and sisters should be looking for. And these are qualities that sisters should be acquiring, man. This is what makes a good wife, man. See. Let me see. I'm going back up, checking some questions. But this is what, brothers and sisters, this is the mindset that we should have according to Salaki, brothers and sisters, according to the scriptures on how to build a good marriage. Let's go back to the book of Ephesians, chapter 5. Shalom, shalom, brother JJ. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 5 and verse 22. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body. So the man is the head of the household. Sisters may not like the decision that he made, but guess what? You have to live with it. And if it's the decision that's, guess what, going off, guess what? You have to trust that his head, which is Christ, will, guess what, correct him. You can't be trying to bring judgment and correction on your husband, man. You cannot do that. That's going outside of your role, man. Stay within the bounds of your roles. Stay within the bounds of the scriptures. Like we say, that fight is not your fight. That fight is for the Most High God. You still stay with what you're supposed to do. Verse 24. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives. Meaning what? According to the scriptures. It says, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. So even that's our job. Guess what? It's our job to even lay down our life for our family and for our wives. That's what our job is, brothers, in this walk, man. To teach, to guide, to protect, and to provide. These are very, very important things to, guess what? To have a strong marriage. And I pray that brothers and sisters are taking notes on these things. It's not just for single brothers and single sisters. It's for brothers and sisters that are already married in the truth. To do what? Make your marriage stronger. Because I know without a shadow of a doubt, coming into this truth that made my marriage stronger. You know, it have made my marriage stronger. Shalom, Brother Gabriel, y'all. It have made my marriage stronger because guess what? I understand what my role is. You know, my wife understands what her role is. Sometimes you have to get back in order with my wife, even with myself. You know, but we know that order. And we apply the scriptures faster now. It's no more waiting days at a time, mad at one another. No, we apply the scriptures in that time. Catch myself. You know, babe, I apologize if I was out of the spirit on this particular thing. Or, babe, she will apologize to me. Babe, I was out of the spirit. I'm sorry. You know, that's what this is all about. That shows growth in this thing, man. All praise, Sister Mary Houston. Even Sister Mary Houston said that. I know we had talked about that. You know. These things, that's what it's made to do. Put things in that proper order. Verse 26, that he may sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. And that's what sanctified marriage. That's what cleansed marriage. With the washing of the water by the word. Meaning what? We read in here and understood what our roles are as a husband and as a wife. That he might present it to himself as a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that it should be holy and without blemish. And that's what you want your marriage to be like. You want your marriage to be without spot, meaning without sin and without blemish. You want those things, man. You want to, guess what? Grow from particular things that y'all dealt with months before or years before. And understand, like we said, on how to apply the scriptures even faster. Let me get this started. Like we said, that's something that we're big and heavy on in Battle Axes, growth, man. Spiritual growth in this walk, man. Not falling into the same mistakes that you have been falling into, man. Like we're saying, sisters learning how to catch their tongues. Going back, applying what? Sirach chapter 26, verse 14, even faster. Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 27, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. Why is that? Because Christ already gave us the understanding. Meaning what? When y'all join yourself together, y'all not two no more. Y'all one flesh. So when you're loving your wife, you're loving your own self. When you're loving your own self, you're loving your wife. So when you're doing things against yourself or against your wife, you're really doing it to yourself. And ultimately, you're doing it to who? To Christ. Like we say, these scriptures, when reading these things should put brothers and sisters in the spirit and in the fear of the Most High God, man. Verse 29, for no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourished and cherished it, even as the Lord, the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. Just clarify what I just said. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. Saying the same thing that we read in what? In the book of Genesis and in the book of Matthew chapter 19 verse 5. It says, nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself. And the wife see that she reverence her husband. That's a thing that sisters must do. I forgot one. Verse 32. And this is one of the main points. I'm Salaki, brothers and sisters. I'm jumping ahead. Verse 32. This is a great mystery. What is a great mystery? Marriage is a great mystery. Meaning what? Brothers and sisters could be hunky-dory. 5 minutes later, boy, y'all at each other's throats. Meaning what? Satan done put spirits up in there to cause confusion and strife. You have to be able to catch those things. Somebody went off at some point in time. Guess what? Damn it. One of y'all get back in the spirit. Somebody got to apply the commandments, or if not both. So you want to make sure, because strife comes up every single time. What's hard to swallow? It says, what you wouldn't say to yourself, that's right, don't say to your wife. What's hard to swallow, Dexter? Like we say, this is a mystery. Clarify for us, brother. Yeah, he comes all the time. He damn sure does, sis. All the time to, guess what? To bring confusion and strife. You think, guess what? Satan like Israelite marriages? Actually applying it, yeah. You know, and that's something that, guess what? Brothers must pray for, sisters must pray for, man. You have to apply those things, because that's all Satan wants you to do. He don't want you to apply the scriptures. Verse 32. It says, this is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. So these things, we say, this is what build a strong marriage in Israel. And like we said, it's our job to set the example on these things. Let's go to the book of Romans. Because like we say, brothers have to make the time. I know when brothers are up in leadership roles, there's nothing wrong with having a good time with your wife. You know, it's nothing wrong with these things, man. Teaching your wife, being your wife's friend, it's nothing wrong with these things, man. Let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians. I always get that mixed up. Chapter 7 and verse. Let me see what I want. This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter verse 32. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 32. But I will have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord. So we know brothers that are not married. You know, you are literally putting full-time work with serving the Lord. But it's different. Not as much, but it is different when you are married. And we're going to read on verse 33. But he that is married careth for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. So we know when brothers are married, yes, you always put the Most High God first. But guess what? You have to make time for your wife too. You have to make time. Time for her to teach her in the scriptures, and time for her just for y'all to have a good time within itself. It's nothing wrong with taking your wife out, having a good time, walking down, holding hands. It's nothing wrong with these things, brothers. It's nothing wrong with these things, man. And guess what? That's what our job is as a husband. You see, guess what? Even, let's get that account. Abraham sporting with his wife. See, I always lose that account. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 20, or Isaac. The book of Genesis, chapter 26 and verse 18. Even going into Isaac and Rebekah. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 26 and verse 18. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, meaning Africans, looked out at a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah, his wife. Sporting in this context is going into what? Having a good time, playing around, showing her attention. It's nothing wrong with brothers having a good time with their wives. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's get another precept. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9 and verse 9. There's nothing wrong with that, man. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9 and verse 9. Live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of thy life of thy vanity. So the Most High God is commanding us to live joyfully with our wives, man. Enjoy the times when y'all in y'all young days. And all praise to the Most High God that y'all grow old together, man. You know, it's a beautiful thing for y'all to have a good time. You know, yeah, a lot of times we're serious in the truth, but it's good to, guess what, let back and, guess what, have a good time with your wife also. It says, live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of thy life of thy vanity, which he had given thee under the sun, all the days of thy vanity. For that is thy portion in this life, and in thy labor which thou takest under the sun. So it's good to have a good time with your wife, man. But guess what? You cannot never leave and forget the role that you play in this truth. Remember that the Lord always comes first, though. So it should be what? The Most High God, Christ, your wife, your children. That's the role, that's the order. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 33. But he that is married careth for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. There is a difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman careth for the things of the Lord, meaning what? She has more time for the Most High. It says that she may be holy both in body and in spirit, meaning what? She's not sleeping around, meaning what? Her life is dedicated solely to the Most High God. You have people like that. You had Paul, that, guess what? He didn't have a wife. He was solely dedicated to the work. And then you have Yahushua, Christ. He was solely, guess what, about the business of the Lord. He didn't have time for a wife, man. His life was solely dedicated to, guess what, doing the work of the Lord. You have brothers out there and you have sisters out there as well, man. And that's fine. You know, that's fine if brothers and sisters don't want to get married, that you're solely putting your time to the Lord, that's fine. But it's talking about for brothers and sisters that do seek to want a wife and a husband. These are the guidelines that you should follow. It says there is a difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman careth for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she that is married careth for the things of the world, how she may please her husband. So it's not negating. This is not saying that you're putting your husband before the Lord. It's just telling you that, guess what? You still have to care for your husband. You put the Most High God first, but guess what? You put your husband second, and not forgetting your role that you have, the part that you play in this truth. I said, if any brothers or sisters got any other questions, any questions concerning marriage? Like I said, we want to touch on as many topics as we can. How do you get married? I know we touched on that. The role for the wives, the role for the husbands, the part each other plays. These things are very important, man. Very important. So if brothers and sisters have any questions concerning this subject, please bring them out. And we said, because the thing is, we're literally preparing this thing for the marriage of the Lamb. You know, this is also a similitude for that, man. Us being bidded to the marriage of Christ. What do you think Christ is doing to us right now? He's literally proving us and trying us, man. He's proving us. It's the same thing. That's on a spiritual level. And let's kind of touch on that, man. You know, we always got to touch on the spiritual, the deeper side of marriage. Let's go to the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Let's say if brothers have any questions, don't be ashamed. Put them in the chat. Single sisters, put them in the chat as well. This is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 2. For I am jealous over you with godly jealousy. For I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ. And that's what we're doing on a deeper level, on a spiritual level. The Most High God through Christ is trying us. He's proven us to see if we're going to be a faithful and chaste wife. Meaning what? The nation of Israel. Are we going to do our roles? Are we going to put in work in this truth to make ourselves adorned for the coming of Yahushua, to the marriage of the Lamb? Because we're espoused to Christ. We're already promised to Christ, man. But then you have certain brothers and sisters hoeing themselves out, going into other doctrines, wives going outside of their roles, husbands going outside of their roles. Brothers want to rule like a lion. We can't do those things in this truth, man. Like we said, we're being tried and tested right now. Being tried and tested. Shalom, shalom, brother Ehud. Shalom, ma. We're being tried and tested right now. Like we said, we don't want to fail. This is one wedding that, guess what, you do not want to be uninvited to. You don't. Guaranteed that, man. Let's go to the book of Revelations. This is one wedding that you don't want to miss, man. You want to have on your most beautiful garment. Sisters want to put on their most beautiful gown for this thing. Being a chaste virgin, meaning what? We're saving ourselves for Christ, man. We're not going back into Christianity. We're not going back into Islam. We're not going back into Seventh-day Adventists. We're not doing those things, man. Now, it's not lawful to celebrate your anniversaries. You know, that's a custom of the other nations. Like we said, even with, because nowhere in the accounts of the Bible do you see brothers and sisters celebrating their anniversaries. You know, nowhere in that account. Sauce 1, Mr. 500. Nowhere do we see those things, and brothers and sisters have to come up out of those things. Like we said, we want to make ourselves separate. So even by that, we don't do the things that the other nations do. That's being holy. Let's get there real quick. Come on. Let's get there real quick. Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 26. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I the Lord am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye shall be mine. So the things that we do, or the things that the other nations do, we shouldn't do. That's being holy, being separate. Shalom, shalom, Sister Odetta Price, Brother Captain. If someone was to approach wanting to prove a sister, but they aren't spiritually, physically, mentally prepared for a wife, would y'all let the brother know he's not ready? Yes. Hell yes, we'll let him know. You know, that's what, and that's basically like a statute that we have put, or as I would say, a policy. Because we done had situations come up to where brothers and sisters have did things out of order and it didn't work. So now we tell brothers, y'all commanded to go upon counsel before brothers and sisters are proving people. You have brothers and sisters being suspended for going outside of that order. You know, brothers and sisters must stop doing that, because I guarantee you that they're not properly proving one another. We're going to ask questions that brothers and sisters ain't going to ask each other. We ain't playing the games up in there, man. We asking all questions on the table, because you can't play the games. So we'll let a brother know, brother, you're not spiritually built up to have a wife. Brother, you're not physically built up to have a wife, or spiritually. That's one of the main things. We will let brothers know. Hey, we're going to let the sister know as well. You know, sister, you're not ready. Can you go through this, that, and that? And it determines by the questions that we ask. You know, if they giving carnal questions, they're not ready. But if they giving spiritual answers, that'll show that they're ready. So that's one of the main things that we do. The scriptures tell us to do what? Do nothing without counsel. Do nothing without counsel. And that's something heavy that you should want to counsel about. I don't want them captains in my damn business. Brothers and sisters, we don't want to be in your damn business. But guess what? We want to make sure that you're following the commandments according to the Bible. Because like we said, my experience in being in the truth almost 10 years, I done seen so many times where brothers and sisters are not properly proving one another. Then you have a sister sleeping with brothers. You have brothers sleeping with sisters. And it's just whoredom up in the congregation. Like, brothers and sisters, we have to stop that. So that's the way to stop that, by bringing both them up on counsel and guess what? Proving them, asking hard questions, really testing it and trying the spirit in those things. So yes, sis, we will absolutely let him know. Absolutely. That's one of the main things. Let's go back to the book of Revelations, because we trying to be, this is what we're doing. We're trying to get married. Getting ready for the marriage of the Lamb. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 19 and verse 17. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, And his wife had made herself ready. Who is his wife? His wife is what? The children of Israel, the elect of the children of Israel. We're doing what right now? We're making ourselves ready. We're putting on beautiful garments. We're being chaste, meaning what? We're not chasing and being whoremongers, chasing after religions. Guess what? We waiting on the Lord so we can officially be married. That's what we're doing. And that's what brothers and sisters, and this is how they should apply those things, man. You want to wait on that right spiritual brother. You don't want to just take anything, man. Brothers shouldn't want to just take and lie down with any sister. You should want a sister that's built up, man, on a level that's, guess what? She's able to be guided. Shalom, 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 Sister Adibah, shalom, Brother Hosea. You should want these things, man. That's how you properly prove one another. And like we say, we're not against marriage, but we want brothers and sisters to do these things right. That's why we must get stricter. You know, we can't play the game because guess what? You want to be invited to this marriage. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 19, verse 7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife had made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. Because we know when sisters, these are all parables and similitudes for sisters. Why do you think sisters putting on white gowns? It's a symbolism for pure and white and clean. Knowing damn well she done went all out on that damn, what you call it? Bride's bachelorette party. Knowing she done went all out. Now, how the hell she cleaning in this garment in her beautiful dress? She just had a wang dang noodle at the bachelorette party. Same thing for the brothers too. And that's not making yourself clean, man. Making yourself clean is us doing what? Putting on the commandments. Brothers and sisters should all know the precepts to that, man. Go to the book of Psalms 132 and verse 9. Brothers should know these precepts. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 132 and verse 9. Let thy priests be clothed with righteousness, and let thy saints shout for joy. So that's what you want to be clothed with, being white and being clean. Like we say, this is a similitude for putting on the commandments. That's what makes you white and clean, meaning pure. Let's get another one. Let's go to the book of Job 29 and 14. Precepts we go over all the time, man, but always need to be reiterated. The book of Job, chapter 29 and verse 14. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was as a robe and as a diadem. A diadem is a crown. You know, those are beautiful things. Just imagine you getting beautified for what? The wedding of the Lamb. At your own wedding, you're going to be decked out, man. So how much more the wedding of the Lamb? Let's go back to the book of Revelation, chapter 19 and verse 8. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. And we know who the saints are. So how can Christianity fit all nations into this? All nations are not being prepared for the wedding of the Lamb. Right here it just says what? The righteousness of the saints. The saints are the Israelites according to what? Psalms 148 and verse 14. Everybody is not a saint. All nations are not saints. Verse 9. And he said unto me, right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, these are the true sayings of God. He said that's a blessed thing to be called to the marriage of Yahushua, man. And it's the same symbol as blessed for brothers and sisters to be married in this truth, man. That's what we read. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. Marriage is honorable in all, man, and the bed undefiled, man. Meaning what? Whatever you and your wife do in y'all bedroom, guess what? That's according to the Bible. That's what y'all should do. There's no threesomes. Y'all shouldn't be doing those things. Like we say, where there is no law, there is no sin. We literally see brothers cannot have threesomes or menage a trois or two women up in a bed with them. Now, in the Bible, we do see multiple wives, but like we tell brothers, all things are lawful, but everything is not expedient. Just because multiple wives is lawful doesn't mean that it's the right time to have multiple wives. We say, hell, it's hard enough just to take care of your damn self, let alone 2 and 3 wives. Then just imagine if both those wives are not built up Boy, you have a pack of lionesses on your behind up in there. Have to beat them off with some sticks, man. Say they've been in there and jumped your behind, man. Like, you really have to be built up. Like we said, the Bible teaches that, but when brothers are asking and inquiring about those things, we tell them it's not expedient, and we tell them it's not the right time. You know, you really have to be on a particular type level to guide multiple women in this truth. You have to be, man. There's no other way around it. The main job is to, guess what, being prepared for the supper of the Lord, man. That's what we're being prepared for. Let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 22, verse 9. Like I said, if you got any questions, put them in there so we can cover these things according to marriage. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to furnish the wedding with guests. The guest is what? Sealing up the 144,000 and the 1/3 of the elect. This is the book of Matthew chapter 22 and verse 9. Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage. And that's what we're doing. We're bidding brothers and sisters to the marriage. That's what we're doing even when brothers and sisters are trying to get married. You know, coming to counsel. They should be bidding one another, trying one another, making sure they're keeping the commandments, understanding their roles. It's role play that goes into that, man. When you're trying to choose a wife in this truth, man. Let me keep going down. Let me make sure I'm not. All praise. You know, and that's a good thing to be married. I know Carla D said she's married to the Most High. All praise. You know, for brothers and sisters. No, all praise to the Most High. I'm an elder female. I came into the truth in 2018. I'm following the commandments. Since then, I'm not talking with anyone. I'm in Arizona and have not met a brother in the truth. Yeah, all praise to that, sis. Until he sees fit for me that I'd be a help me. All praise. And that's the spirit to have, sis. Like you say, making sure that brothers and sisters are built up spiritually to be into a marriage. Like I said, if you're brand new in the truth, I wouldn't advise it. You know, months into the truth, no, I wouldn't advise it. You know, you want to make sure that you get on a good foundation in this walk. You know, making sure you understand how to properly keep the commandments and the high holy days. I tell you, if you hadn't spent a year of keeping the high holy days, you shouldn't be looking at no husband right now. Husbands shouldn't be looking at women right now. You just shouldn't. You know, it don't even make no sense. Like you said, how you gonna guide the sister and how you gonna properly teach her the commandments and you obey in the truth yourself? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. You know, Sister Azariah, couples got to put in work, not an easy walk. Love is more than the sex and material stuff. It is, sis. It is. And that's one thing we kind of want to touch on too. I know a lot of times sisters do use sex as a weapon. Sometimes brothers use sex as a weapon. You know, because you sometimes have that sister that wanted more than a husband. Brothers and sisters, you cannot weaponize sex against your husband. And that's something that brothers and sisters must ask about too. When you proving a person, all things on the table. Hey, do you like having sex? Because you have some sisters, they may not like, hey, brother, I'm good once a month or so, twice a month. Hey, I'm good. You want to ask that. So if you're a brother that like to get it in, those are things that you ask. A sister that like to get it in and a husband that don't. You want to ask those things. Guess what? It's no subject that we don't talk about in this thing. Because guess what? It's in the Bible. Let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians. Brothers and sisters cannot weaponize sex amongst each other. Remember, if that's your husband's desire, you have a sister, oh, I got the headache. I don't feel good. Now, we talking about if a sister is playing the games or whatnot and trying to use it as a weapon. And I'm talking about if your wife is literally sick and you trying to get it in. Come on, brother. You know, be wise as a serpent, man. Come on, man. That's not the time, brother. You want to love your wife as you love yourself, brother. We talking about that sister or that brother that's trying to weaponize it against you, you know, and use it as a form of power, because we know a lot of times sisters struggle with that coming into the truth. They lose that power that they once had. So they trying to find any way to get and cling to some power. Sex is a power. I can use that to try to control them. No, according to the Bible, you cannot, sis. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 2. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, meaning what? Sexual sins. Let every man have his own wife, And let every woman have her own husband. So to avoid fornication, yes, you need to get married. You know, you rather keep the commandments than burn. But guess what? You have to know the roles within that. That shouldn't be your first vocal point. Your first vocal point is what? Guess what? Getting built up in the Lord. That's the first thing. Reading on. Let the husbands render unto the wife the due benevolence. Due benevolence is her duty and your duty according to a marriage. Due benevolence is also going into when your husband wants some, guess what? You are obligated to give them to him. When your wife wants some, the husband is obligated to give. You can't be playing the games with sex, because guess what? That's some of the reasons, and it's not an excuse, but that is some of the reason why men go out there and cheat, because they may not be getting it how they want it at home. That's not an excuse, but I'm just telling you the reasons. That's right. The body is not her own, and his body is not his own. Verse 4 again from the top. The wife had not power of her own body, but verse 3 from the top. So like it, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife had not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband had not power of his own body, but the wife. This is the point. Verse 5. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time. Meaning what? Y'all cannot defraud one another's sex or withhold sex from one another. You cannot do that. You cannot do that in the truth, sisters, brothers. You cannot do that. It's mainly attributed to sisters, you know, because I would say maybe 80% of the times men are the ones that like to sex. Hey, just think about our daddy, man. Our daddy had 12 sons, so obviously they like to get it in, man. Hey, Israel men, we love to have sex. But guess what? You want to make sure that it's under the commandments of the Most High God. And you're getting with a sister that has that same drive. Is that the only thing that you're looking for? No. But we must cover these things, man. Because like we say, a lot of times these things is what causes problems in Israel. So like we say, when you're properly proving one another and understanding your role, guess what? That's one less problem to have amongst each other. I'm going to read it again from the top. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 5. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be for consent for a time, that ye may give yourself to fasting and prayer. So the only time you can withhold sex from one another is when y'all agree to fast and agree to pray. It says, and come together again, that Satan tempt ye not for your inconsistency. So you want to make sure that, guess what, after y'all have done that, y'all come together again. Because guess what? Satan used that opportunity to do what? To bring division and strife between husbands and wives. These are some of the main things that go on in marriages. Pitting one against another. You know, whether it's money or sex. Those are the two main topics. Let me ask you, Sister Azariah, you was asking, isn't that witchcraft? Is what witchcraft, sis? Clarify, Sister Azariah. Is what witchcraft? Like I say, any more questions? Clarify, sis. So to avoid fornication, yes, it's a marriage, you know, but guess what? You want to make sure you go through these. You want to make sure you go through the proper road and through the proper precepts. Let's see, did you clarify? I know we got new moon coming up tomorrow. Make sure, brothers and sisters that are not in Battle Axe headquarters in Dallas, Texas, make sure y'all prepare yourselves to celebrate. Oh, you have to work out. Let me say, my bad, I didn't catch you. Went into my precepts. How to resolve it other than, I was Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26. So like you on Facebook. I know it timed out a little bit. No, Esau, man. And we're trying to stop the word. Satan cometh immediately. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26. That's right. That's a good precept. This is the book of Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 26. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. And I'm glad I brought that out. Even with couples, when you're fighting and arguing, you want to make sure, and that comes with time. And I obviously understand it because we're so used to confined back into our corners, handle it in according to the world. But the scriptures is telling us, be ye angry. It's okay to be angry, but sin not. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath. So as far as husbands and wives getting into it or having a misunderstanding, guess what? You want to go to the scriptures and apply the scriptures and get back in the spirit. You don't want to be sleeping on those things, because guess what? Satan can play on your mind. We cannot be ignorant of Satan's devices. That's a device of Satan that he uses to, guess what, bring turmoil and strife in a marriage when they're not properly handling it. And that's why I gave an example of me and my wife. It's strength. The laws strengthen my marriage. Now we apply the scriptures instantly. We apply these things. It may be mad for about 5 or 10 minutes, but guess what? We get back on track. Boom, boom, boom. And don't let the sun go down upon our wrath. Whatever the spirit is that's coming upon y'all, wherever a brother or sister went off at. A lot of times in marriage, you find out that it's just a misunderstanding. And a word spoken out of term or anything. But if it's something deeper, you want to make sure, guess what? You definitely apply this scripture. Yeah, the captivity. Withholding set. Is it a form of witchcraft? Well, now, like we said, being rebellious to that. Now, that's where it is. Because the Most High God compares rebellion to witchcraft. Now, if a sister is being rebellion and steady doing that, yes, it can fall up under witchcraft. Let's get that real quick. Let's go to the book of 1 Samuel. Because rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. So if a sister is doing it in that particular type manner, then yes. This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 15 and verse 23. We'll get straight to the point. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. So if a sister is doing that, if a brother is doing that, and he's steady being rebellious to that particular type of law or statute, trying to withhold sex or trying to do anything concerning that, yes, that can fall up under witchcraft. It says, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he had also rejected thee from being a king. So yes, it falls up under that if a sister does it in that particular manner about what being rebellious to applying that scripture. Or brother, it goes both ways. I can captivity, man. We hate that. We're approaching I know this topic can go on and on. I know we just try to give brothers and sisters an opportunity to ask questions on these things. It says, yeah, I know that 26 on down is very good on that. I just didn't know if it was any more. Any more precepts for that. Yeah, I have to find something for you. I'm pretty sure there's always 2 or 3 witnesses. How do you celebrate the new moon? That's a good question, Charlie P. One of the things is, brothers and sisters, there is no buying and selling. Let's get there real quick. Let's go to the book of 1 Samuel. Is that what I want? Let's get that. The new moon is treated as a high holy day. We're going to cover those things. It's a celebration that we celebrate the new month. That's what moon stands for, new month. That's where you have to get into the understanding of the cycles of the moon. And that's how we read and determine our high holy day schedule. And that's how we basically tell time, brother. This is the book of 1 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 5. And David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. So one of the things that we do is a celebration. So you have a dinner prepared. So the new moon is not like the 7-day Sabbath. You can cook on the new moon, but you cannot buy and sell on the new moon. So tomorrow, before the sun goes down, Monday, Get all the things that you need, because you cannot buy from Monday sundown to Tuesday sundown. It says, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat, but let me go, that I may hide myself in the field until the third day at even. So it's a celebration in which we celebrate the Most High God giving us another month. So you can cook on the new moon. Let's go into some more precepts. Let's go into Psalms chapter 81 and verse 3. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon. So another thing you do, you blow up the trumpet in the new moon. You know, setting a tone and letting brothers and sisters know that it's a new moon. It says, blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. So this is a very solemn and exclusive feast day. You're not letting everybody up in here, man. Don't let brothers and sisters that, guess what, are trying to keep the commandments. You know, it's a very important high holy day. It says, for this was a statute for Israel and a law of the God of Jacob. So this is a law ordained. So there's no buying and selling. Let's touch on that. You can cook. You blow up the trumpet. Have a good time and gather amongst brothers and sisters. Go to the book of Amos, chapter 8 and verse 5. This is the book of Amos, chapter 8 and verse 5, saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn? See, our people was wicked during this time. They didn't care about celebrating the new moon. All they wanted to do was sell corn and make money. They asking, when will the new moon be gone so we can sell corn, so I can go back to the block? It says, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit. So our people wanted to sell money and do it deceitfully, meaning what? Not giving people what they properly paid for. So there is no buying and selling. You can cook, and it's a feast day that you gather amongst like-minded brothers and sisters. So those are the things that you do on the new moon, Brother Charlie P. Now, it's no working either, but we know we're in captivity, so you have to do what you can do. Now, if you can get off, you know, all praise to the Most High God, get off. You know, but if you can't, hey, you have to do what you have to do. It's pretty hard to get every new moon off every month, you know. You know, I know it's kind of hard, so you have to do what you have to do. You know, so I'm glad that you said that as well. So it's no working as well. So no working. You can cook for a feast day or celebration. Gather amongst your people. No buying and selling. Blowing up the trumpet. Any other questions about marriage or any other topics? Real quick. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have to find you, so I think I answered you on that. Any other questions real quick? Any other questions before we get up out of here? We approaching a 2-hour mark. I didn't even think the class went by that fast, but hey, time flies when you having fun, man. So I always love to bring out the precepts and just kind of get into it. But remember, like we say, marriage is very honorable and all. But remember, we also preparing ourselves for the real marriage of the Lord and of the Lamb. So we can never negate that. Israel, Brother Tony. Any other questions? If not, about to get up out of here. I know when I get to say it, that's when brothers and sisters start typing. So just trying to hold to make sure. Like we said, make sure brothers and sisters are preparing to all praises, sis. I say any other questions, just call put them on there real quick. Make sure that brothers and sisters are preparing, even for brothers and sisters that are part of Battle Axes that are out of town. Like we said, we know that Dallas, Texas is headquarters. Still prepare yourself to, guess what, celebrate these new moons. Whether you're doing a formal dinner with your family, And you still celebrate these things, man. These things are very important for us to practice a righteous rehearsal. That's what we're going to be doing in the kingdom, man. So you might as well get a great practice out of it now and to prepare. Make sure, brothers, that y'all are buying things before, if you need to buy, or if sisters are cooking, get those things before. Make sure you try to make preparations for those things, man. All praise to Sister Mary's. Or tonight is not. Make sure you prepare. Make sure to prepare. Make sure. That's what these things are all about. That's what these classes are all about. Making sure brothers and sisters know other questions. And then to the Most High, to His Son Yahushua. I hope this class was edifying. And we said we can always reiterate these classes. We can never do enough of marriage classes, touching on other different aspects, really kind of going a little deeper into it on being married to the Lamb, on a spiritual level. But any class that brothers and sisters want, reach out to the captains and let us know. We have a lot of classes on YouTube already. The thing is, you have to be specific and when you're typing it in. So sometimes you may have to reach out to the captains so we can give you the specifics. Yeah, I don't get tired out. I love going through the scriptures out. If you do have something, hey, bring them forth out. But like I was saying, any subjects or any topics, I know we'll try to touch on. But I know a lot of times you have to be very specific. Oh, I ain't forgetting that, Sister Mary Houston. But be very specific on what you are putting in there. So sometimes you may have to call the captains, depending on what it is, because YouTube be funny like that. You used to could type in a title similar to what brothers would bring it out and it immediately pull up. But now you have to be specific. Esau is hell, man. They making it hard on the saints, man. So like we said, giving all praises to the Most High and to His Son Yahushua, who brothers and sisters were edified. We always tell brothers and sisters to keep a law, to keep the laws of God. So we always love to bring out a law. Just go back to the book of see what I want. I want Leviticus chapter 18, I think. No, I don't want that either. I want Deuteronomy. That's what I want. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 22. If any man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel. So adultery is a sin according to the Most High God. We cannot do that. And it's not just talking about a married brother and a married sister. This is also talking about single brothers messing with a married woman or single sisters messing with a married man. It goes both ways. We can't be simple concerning this. We can't, it's just saying it that way, brother. It means it both ways too, man. Stop being simple, man. I can do that then. No, there's no adultery, period, man. And if brothers and sisters are dealing in that particular lifestyle, you will be judged for those things. Better wake up and repent, man, for the Most High God blow your candle out, man. This is no game in these last days. Because a lot of times we thinking that, guess what? I don't care about getting judged, but He may judge your children. He may judge you by giving you a particular STD that you cannot get away. Brothers and sisters ain't thinking about that, man. Like we say, even if you wearing a condom, man, He give you something, you catch something through that condom. Or guess what? You sneaking in a married man's house, guess what? Most I got put on the spirit to, guess what? Put a bullet in your behind. And that goes both ways too. Because sisters out here busting that thing too. So we can't play the games when it comes to adultery. That's a sin that's, guess what? That will get you put to death, man. So guess what? You want to make sure that you're not dealing in that particular type of spirit or that sin. And with that, give all honor and praises to Yahweh and to His Son Yahushua. Shalom.